wait, don't skip this. Because what I'm about to say might explain a relationship you've been confused about for a very long time. If there is a man in your life who never fully says what he feels, but somehow deep down, you know he loves you, and yet everything feels complicated, then this video is for you. But promise me one thing, don't leave before the end. Because the last part of this video might change the way you see your entire love story. And before we begin, take 1 second and subscribe to this channel. Not because I want numbers, but because here we talk about the things your heart feels but your lips never say. Turn on the notification bell so whenever a story comes that feels like your life, you never miss it. Now listen carefully, because this is the story of a man who is deeply in love with you. But between that love, there is something very complicated. And that complication will either make your life or break your heart. Love can be sincere even when circumstances are messy. Because love doesn't arrive with a clipboard and a 5-year plan. It doesn't knock politely, ask if the timing is convenient, and wait until all the laundry of life is neatly folded. Love crashes into you while you're still figuring yourself out, while you're healing, while you're scared, while your world looks like a room after a small emotional tornado. And that doesn't make it fake. It means it's human. Some of the realest love you will ever experience is born in chaos. It shows up when people are still carrying old stories, old mistakes, unfinished chapters, obligations, fears, doubts, and 1,000 invisible knots inside their chest. And yet somehow, through all that noise, through all that confusion, one feeling rises up and says, it's you. That's not convenience. That's not fantasy. That's sincerity fighting its way through clutter. Because a heart doesn't stop being honest just because life is complicated. A man can love you deeply and still be tangled in timing. He can care with every breath and still be trapped between who he was and who he's trying to become. He can look at you and feel peace for the first time in years and still be terrified of what that peace might cost him. And here's the strange, beautiful, frustrating truth: love is not always born in perfect conditions. Sometimes it grows in the cracks. Sometimes it shows up when someone is not finished healing. Sometimes it appears when responsibilities are heavy, when past relationships are unfinished echoes, when fear is louder than courage. But the feeling itself, the quiet way his eyes soften when you speak, the way your name feels different in his mouth, the way your absence rearranges his entire day, that part can be completely real. Messy doesn't mean meaningless. Messy means life got involved. But listen carefully, because this part matters. Just because love is sincere does not mean it is sufficient. Sincerity does not magically fix timing. It does not untangle fear. It does not replace courage. It does not automatically create safety. Real love can exist in an unfinished person, and that is both beautiful and dangerous. Because you can understand someone's mess without volunteering to live inside it. You can honor the truth of his feelings without sacrificing the truth of your needs. You are allowed to say, I believe you love me, and still say, but I need more than complicated. Love that is sincere but unready often feels like standing in the rain under a broken umbrella. The feeling is warm, the connection is real, but you are still getting soaked. And you don't have to doubt the love to admit the situation is hurting you. Here's the miracle though. Sometimes messy love becomes brave love. Sometimes someone looks at the chaos inside their life and says, no, this matters too much to lose. Sometimes love becomes the reason a person finally heals, finally chooses, finally steps forward instead of hiding. And when that happens, it's extraordinary. But that only happens when love grows teeth, when it becomes action, when it becomes honesty, when it becomes courage instead of excuses. So yes, love can be sincere even when circumstances are messy. But you must remember this: your worth is not measured by how patient you can be with someone else's confusion. You are not here to prove your value by surviving uncertainty. You are here to be loved clearly, bravely, and without apology. If his love is real, it will eventually rise to meet you. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't a lack of love. It was a lack of readiness. And that has nothing to do with your worth. Fear and past wounds often hide behind complicated behavior. Because human beings are incredible magicians. We smile while bleeding. We joke while breaking. We say, oh, I'm fine, when there's a whole storm screaming inside our chest. And when love shows up, real love, it doesn't just touch the future, it pokes every old bruise we thought we buried. You see, complicated behavior rarely comes from confusion alone. It comes from memory. It comes from the relationship that ended without warning. From the promise that was broken. From the moment someone said forever and quietly disappeared. And the heart, being the dramatic little survival machine that it is, learns a lesson: protect yourself. So when love appears again, beautiful and terrifying and full of possibility, fear steps in wearing a clever disguise. It pretends to be logic, it pretends to be timing, it pretends to be responsibility, it pretends to be I just need space, or I'm not ready, or it's complicated. But underneath all of that is a very small, very honest voice whispering, what if this hurts again? A man who has been wounded does not run from love because he doesn't want it. He runs because he wants it too much. Because the last time he opened his heart, it didn't come back the same shape. So he builds walls and calls them boundaries. He hesitates and calls it being practical. He keeps one foot out the door and tells himself it's maturity. But really, he's just trying to love without bleeding. And sometimes that fear turns him into someone confusing. One day he's warm. The next day he's distant. One moment he's saying things that sound like forever. The next moment he's acting like tomorrow doesn't exist. Not because he's playing games, because inside him, two voices are fighting. One says, this is the woman you've been waiting for. The other says, this is how you get destroyed again. And fear is loud. Fear remembers details love tries to forget. It remembers the night he begged someone not to leave. It remembers the silence after the fight. It remembers trusting the wrong person at the wrong time. So when he feels himself falling, instead of running toward you, sometimes he freezes. Or worse, he runs in circles. And here's where compassion comes in. Because complicated behavior is often the language of an unhealed heart. It's the way someone says, I care, when they don't know how to say, I'm terrified. It's the way someone says, I need time, when they mean, I don't know how to be brave yet. And yet, listen to me carefully now because this is important. Understanding someone's fear does not mean you must accept being hurt by it. You can see the wound and still refuse to become the bandage. You can love someone and still say, your healing is not my responsibility. Because while fear explains behavior, it does not excuse neglect. It does not excuse mixed signals. It does not excuse keeping you in uncertainty. It does not excuse making you doubt your worth. Healing is a choice, courage is a choice, and love, real love, eventually chooses to be braver than fear. The right person will not let their past punish your future. They will face the memories, they will untangle the pain. They will risk their heart again because losing you would hurt more than opening up. And if they can't, then this is the part you must remember with tenderness and strength. Someone's wounds may explain why they can't love you the right way. But they do not mean you are meant to wait until they learn how. You deserve a love that is not hiding behind fear. You deserve a heart that meets you, not runs from you, and one day, whether it's this man after he heals or someone new who already has, you will be loved by someone who is not afraid to stay. True love requires courage, honesty, and emotional risk. Because love is not a feeling you fall into like a soft couch after a long day. Love is a decision you stand up for when your knees are shaking. It is not comfort, it is courage in disguise. Anyone can feel affection. Anyone can feel attraction. Anyone can say, I care. But real love asks for something much harder. It asks you to be seen. And that is terrifying. Because the moment you love someone, you hand them the exact map to your softest places. You show them where you are strong and where you are unfinished. You let them see the doubts you hide, the fears you joke about, the parts of yourself you pretend don't matter. And suddenly another human being has the power to break you in ways no stranger ever could. That is not romance, that is bravery. Love says, here I am, unarmored. Honesty is the next step, and it might be even harder. Because honesty means no masks. It means saying, I'm not okay when you've been pretending you are. It means saying, I want you when pride tells you to stay quiet. It means saying, I'm scared, instead of disappearing. Honesty means telling the truth about your intentions before someone builds a future on your silence. And here's the uncomfortable truth: people don't usually lie because they're cruel. They lie because they're afraid. Afraid to disappoint, afraid to commit, afraid to admit they don't know what they want, afraid that if they speak the truth, they'll lose the person standing in front of them. So they choose the safer path: half-truths, vague promises, emotional fog. But love cannot live in fog. Love needs light. And then comes the greatest risk of all, emotional risk. The moment you choose to care, you gamble your time, you gamble your peace, you gamble the carefully rebuilt version of your heart. You say, I believe this might be worth the pain. And sometimes it is. Sometimes love becomes the place where you finally feel understood. Sometimes it becomes the place where you grow, heal, laugh harder than you ever have, and discover a version of yourself you didn't know existed. But sometimes it hurts, sometimes it ends. Sometimes the person you trusted with your heart gives it back in pieces. And still, and this is the miracle, people try again. Because deep down, every human being knows this secret. A life without love is safer, but it is smaller. You can protect yourself perfectly and still be lonely. You can avoid every risk and still miss the one thing that makes the risk worthwhile. And this is where true love separates itself from complicated love. True love does not hide behind maybe. It does not whisper when it should speak. It does not keep one foot out the door in case things get hard. True love shows up. It says, I'm scared, I'm staying anyway. It says, I don't have all the answers, but I'm choosing you while I figure them out. It says, you matter enough for me to risk my heart. And here is what you must never forget. You do not have to earn courage from someone else. You do not have to convince someone to be honest with you. You do not have to beg someone to risk loving you. The right person will feel the fear and step forward anyway. Because when someone truly loves you, they don't protect themselves from you. They protect the relationship with you. And one day, whether it's this man after he finds his bravery or someone else who already carries it, you will be loved by someone who chooses you not safely, but bravely. Timing can be the greatest obstacle to deep connection. Because love does not arrive on a schedule. It doesn't check your calendar, your healing progress, your responsibilities, your unfinished business, or your emotional readiness. It shows up when it wants to, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of change, in the middle of a life that is already full of complications. And that is the cruel joke of the universe. You can meet the right person at the wrong moment. You can recognize a soul before your life has space for it. You can feel something extraordinary while everything around you is unstable. And suddenly you're standing in front of someone who feels like home while your world is still under construction. Timing is invisible, but it is powerful. Because connection alone is not enough. Two people can love each other deeply and still be separated by seasons they cannot skip. One might be healing from a past heartbreak while the other is ready to build a future. One might be chasing a dream in another city while the other is finally learning how to stay. One might be emotionally available while the other is still learning how to trust their own heart again. And nobody is wrong. They're just not aligned. That's the part that hurts the most. When there's no villain, no betrayal, no lack of feeling. Just two people looking at each other thinking, why now? Timing tests love in the quietest ways. It creates distance where affection exists. It creates hesitation where certainty wants to grow. It turns what could be into not yet. And sometimes, not yet slowly becomes never. Because life does not pause for romance. Bills still arrive. Careers still demand. Families still need you. Healing still takes time. And love, no matter how beautiful, must live inside reality. Here's the truth people don't like to admit. Love cannot always conquer timing. Sometimes timing conquers love. Not because the love wasn't real, but because real life required something different. And that is heartbreaking, because it means you can lose someone not because you failed, not because they stopped caring, but because the moment you met them was simply wrong, too early, too late, too complicated. And yet, and this is important, timing is not only an enemy, sometimes timing is a teacher. Sometimes the delay is not punishment, but protection. Because meeting someone before you're ready can turn a miracle into a mess. Because loving someone while you're unfinished can teach you pain instead of partnership. Because trying to build a future while standing in uncertainty can slowly drain the joy out of something that was meant to be beautiful. And sometimes timing is merciful. Sometimes it says, not now, so that later can be better. But here is where wisdom comes in. You cannot force timing. You cannot rush healing. You cannot drag someone into readiness. And you cannot pause your life waiting for someone else's season to change. Love should walk beside your life, not replace it. And if someone truly belongs with you, timing will eventually find a way. They will return when both of you are ready. Or they will grow into someone who can finally meet you where you stand. And if they don't, then this is the hardest truth and also the most freeing one. Some people are not meant to be your forever. They are meant to be your chapter. They are meant to teach you what connection feels like. They are meant to show you what you deserve. They're meant to prepare you for the love that will arrive at the right time and stay. Because the right person at the wrong time is not the right person, and the right timing will never ask you to wait in uncertainty forever. One day, you will meet someone whose life has space for you, whose heart is ready for you, whose timing aligns with your becoming. And when that happens, love will finally feel less like a struggle and more like a home. You deserve clarity, not confusion in love. Because love is not supposed to feel like a puzzle you're constantly trying to solve. It is not supposed to keep you awake at night replaying conversations, reading messages, analyzing silences, wondering what you did wrong, wondering what they meant, wondering where you stand. Love is not a riddle. Love is not a guessing game. Love is not meant to make you doubt your value. And yet so many people accept confusion as if it's romance. They call anxiety passion. They call mixed signals mystery. They call emotional distance depth. But let me tell you something gently and honestly. Confusion is not chemistry. Confusion is not excitement. Confusion is usually a sign that someone does not know how or is not willing to meet you clearly. Because when someone truly wants you, you don't have to decode their behavior. You don't have to wonder if they care. You don't have to question their intentions. Their actions speak in a language your heart understands without translation. Clarity is calm. Clarity is consistent. Clarity doesn't come and go. And you deserve that kind of peace. You deserve to know where you stand. You deserve to know if you're chosen or just convenient. You deserve to know if someone is building toward you or simply standing near you. Because uncertainty slowly erodes the soul. It makes confident people insecure. It makes loving people guarded. It makes strong hearts tired. There is nothing romantic about constantly feeling unsure of your place in someone's life. There is nothing beautiful about shrinking yourself so you don't scare someone away. There is nothing noble about waiting in silence while someone decides whether you are worth choosing. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are not a temporary distraction. You are a human being with a heart that deserves safety. And here is a hard truth that can change your life. If someone is confusing you, it is often because they are confused about themselves. Or worse so, they are clear but afraid to be honest. They enjoy your presence but not enough to commit. They like your affection but not enough to protect your feelings. They want the benefits of love without the responsibility of it. And that is not love. That is comfort at your expense. Clarity does not require perfection. It does not require someone to have their whole life figured out. It only requires one simple brave thing: honesty. I want you. I'm not ready. I can't give you what you deserve. Any of those truths are kinder than silence. Any of those truths are kinder than dragging someone through emotional fog. Because clarity, even when it hurts, heals faster than confusion ever will. And here is where your power lies. You are allowed to ask for clarity. You are allowed to say, I need to know where this is going. You are allowed to walk away from anything that makes you feel small, uncertain, or invisible. You are not demanding too much. You are asking for the bare minimum of emotional respect. The right person will not punish you for wanting to understand their heart. They will not make you feel needy for wanting reassurance. They will not make you feel foolish for hoping. They will meet your honesty with honesty. They will meet your vulnerability with presence. They will not leave you guessing. And one day, and this matters more than you know, you will be with someone who does not confuse you. Someone whose love feels steady instead of stressful. Someone whose intentions feel clear instead of cloudy. Someone who makes you feel chosen without having to ask. And when that happens, you will look back at every moment you accepted uncertainty and realize love was never supposed to feel that hard. You were never asking for too much. You were simply asking the wrong person. Because real love does not hide in confusion. It stands in the open and says, I'm here. Healing sometimes must come before choosing love. Because love is not a cure. It is not medicine you swallow to erase the past. It is not a miracle that instantly fixes the broken places inside you. And this is one of the hardest truths about the heart. Sometimes you can meet someone wonderful while you are still wounded, and if you choose love too soon, you end up bleeding on someone who did not cut you. Healing is quiet work. It happens in the moments nobody applauds, in the nights you sit with your own thoughts instead of running from them, in the tears you don't post about, in the choices you make to finally let go of what hurt you. And when someone has not done that work yet, love becomes complicated in ways that have nothing to do with the other person. Unhealed pain changes how you see. It makes danger out of safety. It makes silence out of honesty. It makes distance out of intimacy. A man who is still carrying old heartbreak may love you deeply and still flinch when you get too close, not because you are wrong, because closeness reminds him of loss. A woman who has not healed betrayal may want connection more than anything and still search for signs of abandonment that are not there. Not because you are untrustworthy, because her nervous system is still living in the past. And here's the painful part. Love given to an unhealed heart often gets misinterpreted. Kindness feels suspicious, consistency feels boring, stability feels unsafe, and chaos feels familiar. So people push away the very thing they have been praying for. Not because they don't want it, but because they don't yet know how to receive it. This is why timing and healing are inseparable. Because a heart that is still bleeding cannot build something healthy. It can only build something fragile, and fragile love breaks easily. But healing changes everything. Healing teaches you the difference between fear and intuition, between attachment and connection, between loneliness and love. Healing teaches you how to communicate instead of disappear, how to trust without controlling, how to love without losing yourself. And the most important lesson healing teaches is this: you are responsible for your wounds, not for how you got them, but for what you do with them. You cannot hand someone your broken pieces and expect them to build you a whole heart. That is not partnership. That is pressure. And yet, and this is where hope lives, healing does not mean perfection. It does not mean you have no scars. It does not mean you never get triggered, never get scared, never down. Healing means you are aware. It means you are willing. It means when pain shows up, you face it instead of running. And sometimes the bravest act of love is not choosing someone, but choosing yourself first, choosing therapy, choosing solitude, choosing forgiveness, choosing to finally close a chapter you've been rereading for years. Because when you do, when you walk into love after healing, something incredible happens. You stop chasing, you stop settling, you stop confusing intensity with intimacy. You choose calmer love, kinder love, love that feels safe instead of addictive. And if someone truly belongs with you, they will not resent the time you took to heal. They will thank it. Because the version of you that comes out on the other side is not desperate, not afraid, not trying to be chosen, but ready to love without armor, ready to trust without losing yourself, ready to build something that is not based on wounds but on wholeness. And that is the kind of love that lasts. If you got even 1% motivation from this video, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel Unstoppable Growth so that I can be encouraged.